Hi, Gary Corpenning again from Venice Presbyterian Church outside Pittsburgh. We're going to talk again some more in my Pastor Gary's video notebook. We're back on with our study of Colossians, Paul's letter to the Colossians, chapter 3. We've been working our way through this for a while now. Took a little break, but I'm back on it now. And picking us up back where we were, we were looking at what really I think is a central verse in this chapter, and it's verse 12. And we've been walking through it in close detail, but I'm going to read the verse to you again. This is what Paul says. He says, "Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience." As I say, we've been looking at those, and we've looked at compassion and kindness and humility in close detail in earlier notebook sessions. Today I want to look at what the New International Version translates as gentleness. Gentleness. Now, the word Paul uses here is really kind of tricky, and I'm going to spend most of my time just doing some Greek work with you. You're going to learn a little bit of Greek here. Because the word's tricky to bring into English. The Greek word that Paul uses is prautes, right? Prautes. Now, there are, so far as I can figure out, no English words that are based on that Greek word. You know, there are words that will come into English from the ancient Greek. There are a couple of them, like for instance, the Greek word angelos turns into angels. That's the Greek word for angel. Angelos, it comes into English as angel. There's a Greek word dunamis, which means power. And we get words like dynamite and dynamo and dynamic, all sort of power words. And they come from that Greek word. This word prautes, which is the noun version, and the adjective version praus, the same word just as a noun and an adjective. It's used 16 times in the New Testament. So it's an important word. 3 times in Matthew, 9 times by Paul, and then 2 times each by James in his letter and by Peter in his letters. And the Bible translators use several different English words to bring this word prautes into English. It's sometimes translated humility. But there's really another New Testament Greek word that really better fits the English word humility, and in fact we've already seen it here in Colossians 3:12. We talked about it last time. I talked about that. Sometimes the word prautes is translated as gentleness, and that's what the NIV translators do here in Colossians 3:12. They translate that word as gentleness. Often, the word is translated as meek or meekness, and that's the word that the King James Version uses here and mostly throughout the New Testament. The problem with the English word for meekness is that it really doesn't fit at all well with what Paul and the other New Testament writers mean when they use this Greek word prautes. It's not a good fit at all. In English, meekness generally means something like docility or passivity or timidity, or particularly, this is the one I'm going to emphasize, meekness often means a willingness to be dominated by others, or a willingness to allow others to impose their will on you. That's often what we mean by meekness in English. Now that isn't a very attractive characteristic. And more important, it really doesn't at all fit with what the New Testament writers mean by meekness, by this word prautes, when they use it. Now, there are a couple of places where Jesus uses the word prautes. In the first place, it's in the Beatitudes. Blessed are the prautes, for they will inherit the earth. And we usually translate that meek. This is kind of a paradox. But the one I want to look at most is in Matthew 11, where Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am praus and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." It's a beautiful passage there. And Jesus is telling us, he says, if you want to know what prautes looks like, look at me. Because that's who I am, he says. I am prautes. I am the embodiment of prautes. Now, is Jesus meek in the usual way we use that word in English? Yeah, certainly not. He is certainly not docile or passive. He's not timid at all. And he is definitely does not ever allow others to impose their will on him. So in this passage, in Matthew, Jesus seems to be telling us about something that is at least partly like gentleness, right? Come to me, you who are heavy burdened and weary, and I will give you rest. Come to me in your weariness, in your brokenness, and I will treat you gently, and I will not hurt you. I will not further increase your brokenness. I will not injure you further. That's what he's saying, right? And that's a kind of gentleness, and that's a big part of what prautes is about. But there's more, there's something more to this notion of prautes than just simple gentleness, and it's very important. As I said, it's often that we think of meekness as being willing to allow others to impose their will on you. Now that certainly is not Jesus. He was never ever allowed that to happen. And yet Jesus says, I am meek, I am praus. So what I believe Jesus means by prautes, here's the big point, is that Jesus did not allow others to impose their will on him, but he was praus and meek because he did not seek to impose his will on others through coercion or force. That's what it means. Jesus sought to lead others for sure. He sought to draw them to himself, to persuade them, to change their hearts, but Jesus did not seek to impose his will on or to dominate others by force or coercion because he was praus. Prautes in the Greek, the New Testament sense of meekness, means being gentle toward others and not seeking to impose our will on others by force or coercion. That's what Paul means here when he says to clothe yourself in gentleness, in prautes. We are to be famous for our gentleness, for our non-domineering character. That's who we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be famous for that, because we are meant to model our lives on Jesus. This trait will make us weird in modern America. In the current political climate, we are awash with anti-prautes, anti-gentleness attitudes. Winners are those who impose their will on others around them. But if we allow that attitude to seep into our lives and to affect the way we treat others, especially those that disagree with us, one fact is absolutely certain: we will not be following Jesus. So strive every day to become famous for your gentleness, for your non-domineering character. And if you do, you'll inherit the earth. Lord, make us like Jesus. Amen. Take care. I'll talk to you again soon.